All right, guys, this is going to be the first of a two-part series, and consider this to be a sneak preview of something that is coming up on the blog. We're going to talk here, as you can tell from the title, about National Pastime and APBA and the boards yet again. I have a lot to say on this subject. There's a lot that I don't know as well. As you can see, I'm not particularly old. I wasn't around in the 30s or even in the 70s when people were talking about this stuff. But when I look back, I've discovered some things that I think people have largely overlooked. So without any further ado, I'm going to show you something here. This is an old post on the APBA Between the Lines forum from March 13th, 2002. This comes from R. Henry 24. That would be Robert Henry, who you might know if you're into APBA trivia, since he was the original author of the APBA questions and answers section, or sort of the APBA trivia section of the old APBA journal, the part they put at the very back. This guy had, to my knowledge, a collection of every single card that J. Richard Seitz had ever created, and he was kind of like a walking, talking encyclopedia for both APBA and Strat-O-Matic, actually. He knew Hal Richmond, and he knew a lot of detailed information about the history of Strat-O-Matic. Robert Henry's posts, when I come across them, and unfortunately there are not many, when I come across them, I give them more weight than I do the posts of other people, including people who I know were around at the time, because Henry was very much an insider. However, Robert Henry was incorrect in some of his opinions about the game National Pastime and APBA, both games, and how the games are created. So here he talks about how little the APBA boards have changed since National Pastime. Clifford Van Beek stated he designed the game in 1920, the true Deadball era, when he was a teenager living in an orphanage. He was born in 1903. Robert Henry is correct here, but not completely. So we know from, if you've seen the blog, we know from the Strat-O-Matic review that Clifford Van Beek was likely not living in an orphanage in 1920 or 1917 when he claims to have actually begun designing the game. He was living with his grandparents. He was in an orphanage till he was about 5 or so. He was an orphan, however, and I can tell you from looking through old Green Bay newspapers, which is where he was living, Green Bay, Wisconsin, that Clifford Van Beek was probably not entirely poor. He had enough money and enough sort of push and know-how, at the very least, to create this game. There are some things here we're not going to talk about in these videos, and this is going to probably be a two-parter because there's a lot of stuff to go over. I'm not going to talk much, for example, here about where we talk about in National Pastime in the early years of APBA, the batter advanced to second out of 7 on at least 4 of the 5 of the 8 board situations. Such batter advancement was unrealistic in the current era, but I'm not sure how this game was played in the Deadball era. I have a problem with this statement. Like, I have many problems with this statement, but we're just going to sort of not look at that for the time being. We're going to have to get into that more closely. The point here is that the argument that Robert Henry is making is that APBA was basically a national pastime, were basically Deadball era games. And the argument here, as always, is, oh, well, he didn't have a good look at the disparity between triples and home runs. There are not enough triples in the modern game to merit 3 triple numbers, and so on and so forth. This is not the only place where Robert Henry said this. Right. He says this on multiple occasions, and it drives me nuts to go back and read it because while I understand what he's saying, he's not correct. And we're going to show you that he's not correct. So the truth about National Pastime is that it's not designed to replicate the Deadball era. And I'm going to show that to you very simply here by looking at both APBA boards and National Pastime boards. So here on the left, this is from my lovely blog, are copies of the National Pastime boards, and here are the APBA boards on the right. The truth is that the boards never changed, right? I don't know when these APBA boards are from. This is something that showed up on eBay as a sold listing, and it was one of the few listings to feature all 8 sides of the board, so we're going to look at all 8 sides now. As you can see here, if you make the comparison, the results are 100% the same. I mean 100% the same for results 1 through 6. Now, we're going to get to interesting stuff as soon as we leave bases empty, right? So bases empty, you have 1 is a home run, 2 and 3 are triples. There's only 2 so-called triple numbers. 4 and 5 are doubles, and 6 is a double. We usually think of 6 as a double number. 5 is kind of a home run number. 3 and 4 barely show up in modern APBA, and 2 is a triple number, right? Well, if you're not paying close attention, you'll miss something. So when we go to runners on first, apologies for not being able to make this a little bit bigger. You can go on my blog and see 1 is always a home run, 2 is still a triple, 3 is a double, and 4 is a triple. So 3 is no longer a triple number. Now it is a double number. 4 is a triple, and 5 now is a home run and has become a home run number, right? We're going to go to board C, which is with runners on second, and we'll look and see the same thing. The boards are exactly the same. I can guarantee you that. 1's a home run, 2's a triple, 3 is a home run, no longer a triple number. 4, which was a double number, is now a triple, and 5 is now a home run, and 6 is a double. Right? Now, if you think about this a little bit, you can kind of see what Van Beek is doing here, right? It's not true that these hit numbers have exact values. He's creating different hit numbers with different values to allow himself to better reproduce what happens in baseball history. Instead of having like a normal game where every single time you roll the home run number, then it's going to be a home run no matter what. In this case, you have power numbers that vary depending upon the base situation. It's more of a playable game as a result. It also means, though, that you can do a lot of fine-tuning that is really subtle, kind of behind the scenes of the numbers, right? We'll just go through the rest of these. Runner on third base, 1's home run, 2's a triple, 3 is a home run again, 4 is a double. Now, J. Richard Seitz throws in a batter out trying for third here, which is not in the original National Pastime. I haven't gone back to retrace the boards. I'm guessing that this was not here in 1951. I think this probably came up later on. 5 is a double, and 6 now is a home run, right? So even the number 6 changes as time goes on. Interesting, isn't it? We'll go to board E. And this is with runners on first and second. And guess what? 1 is a home run, and 2 is also a home run in both games. 3 is a double, and 4 is a home run this time, not a triple. 5 now is a triple, what we usually think of as a home run number, and 6 is a double. Interesting. And then we go to board F, and we'll see more of this sort of change. 1's a home run, 2 and 3 are both triples, and 4 is also a triple now, not a double. 5 is a home run again, 6 is a double. We'll go quickly along here to the very, very end, just so you get sort of an idea of what we're talking about. And this doesn't usually come up because of the way the cards are created these days. You see so few 3s and 4s that most of us, including myself, don't really know off the top of our head what they are in each base situation. Runners in second and third, 1's a home run, 2 is a triple, 3 is a double, and in both games, the batter's out trying for third, which means it's actually an out number, which is interesting when it comes time to calculate how many 3s you want in a player card. 4 is a home run, 5 is a triple, and 6 is a double. Then when we go to bases loaded, we're going to see that 1 is a home run, 2 and 3 are both triples, 4 is a double. Now, in National Pastime, 4 only scores 2. In APBA, 4 can score 3 with 2 outs. Little Dick Seitz innovation, which is another one of these really small things that Seitz put into the game to try to make things a little bit more realistic and put in a little bit more variety. 5 is a double, and 6 this time is a triple. So as you can see from this, right, this idea that, everything under 1 is supposed to be like triple, triple, double, double, double is just completely wrong. I mean, it's absolutely wrong. In fact, it's so wrong that it's, almost laughable to think that somebody would look at the APBA boards and come up with the conclusion that the extra base hit situation is really simple. It's not. It's complicated. Each extra base hit will give you a different number of doubles, triples, and home runs, with the exception of 2, which is only a triple or a home run, and the 1, which is always only a home run. And what this does is this allows the card maker to use different numbers to represent different things for the sake of fine-tuning. Now, if you think about this like a card maker would have to think about it, you realize that what you need to know is you need to know how often those base situations are coming up. That is something that is very difficult to figure out and hard to calculate, and somehow Clifford Van Beek not only got it, he got it right on the nose. And we're going to talk about that here in the next video. That's why this is a two-parter. I'll see you tomorrow with more of this.